Men who are abused by women and tried to tell someone. What was it like? I was mostly emotionally mentally abused by her, but she also hit me, threw stuff at me a few times. I used to keep quiet about it when I was in a relationship with her, out of some asinine obligated feeling of trust and privacy towards her, but when we broke up a few months ago it all just flooded out. Telling other people about the facts that had transpired back then really opened my eyes to how horribly she treated me for a big part of the relationship. Luckily I have an amazing group of friends, so they were all understanding, especially because I had seen her nasty side on a few occasions. Telling my family was a lot harder. They all had this image in their head of her being this perfect girlfriend for me. To her credit, she was perfectly able to act like it when either of our families were around. No matter what happened to you, no matter how big or small it may seem, try your best to find somebody to talk about it. For me it helped me realize that she was abusive, that I do deserve better, and that I can do better. It's also just a relief in general to share your pains and burdens with people you love and trust. Abusers, men and women both, tend to maintain a very heavily curated public persona. The perfect angel, the family man, the community leader, etc etc. It's a big part of why abuse victims can find it difficult to tell other people about it, and it can make them question their own perceptions about the abuse as well. The most important thing is to trust yourself. I donate a rental home, when vacant, for abused spouses and children seeking shelter. A social worker cares for them and everything. LIFO quietly moves them from place to place, usually in the middle of the night. Once or twice a year they'll bring a male spouse in and you can tell these guys are utterly humiliated and defeated. Take them seriously. Their situation is not funny or to be taken lightly. They matter. No one believed me, so I moved away. Just deleted all forms of social media. Got a new job right away before the Rona that pays great, and I just live by myself in a small cabin with good internet connection. I've never felt so stress-free in my life. Apparently she went berserk on FB, showing her true colors after I left, then everyone believed me. Isn't it safe to return then? 8 chill guys I just hadn't caught, they didn't believe him at first. No one believes you at first. Still get highly aggressive PMs when I talk about it on Reddit. People insist I must have done something to deserve it. The worst part is they reverse the dynamic in their head, and I've been made out to be a horrible abuser when I never lifted a finger. Meanwhile I was getting hit on a pretty consistent basis and the emotional manipulation was extreme. That's the last bit of control they have. Controlling the narrative. They have accused me of so many terrible things because that's the final avenue left to hurt me. That's what abuse looks like in the end. The abuser burns it all down and then tells everyone that they had no choice and to stay away from the only person who can dispute the facts. Abusers are gaslighters and create their own narrative that justifies their actions and paints them in a positive light. It's like it doesn't exist. Spent years suffering mental torture, getting arrested for things I hadn't done. Had my self-esteem picked away at until there was nothing left. The police ignored me and on one occasion disregarded solid proof to arrest me on her word that I had assaulted her. Been told that charging my ex for domestic abuse was not in the public interest. Long story short, I had a mental breakdown, almost cut my throat, punched my father, went to jail and lost access to my son. My torture lasted for over 10 years and 4 of those were after I left. Men of Reddit, take my advice. It is better to spend your life alone than with someone who manipulates, attacks and slowly tears you apart piece by piece, because even though domestic abuse law is written for all, it is 100% against you. If a woman is framing you, the cops arrive on scene with 100% confidence you're guilty. They'll practically be rolling their eyes as they cuff you. Such a helpless feeling. I never really spoke about the abuse I received. Mine mostly came in the form of gaslighting and being taken advantage of. The one time she gave me a black eye, people would ask what happened. I would say my wife hit me, and they would laugh or make some kind of witty remark. I look back at it all now and I still somehow feel it's my fault for being stupid and too eager to please instead of her being at fault. I'm probably a lot younger than the age I should be browsing these type of questions, but please know that it's not your fault. It's not your fault for being stupid. It's her fault for being a douchebag for using you like this. people are always on the side of those who tell the story. In my case, there were many people who have been supportive, but there always been that bad thing where, especially women, are trying to put bit of a blame on me, saying it was my fault because I should behave this or that way to not provoke things. And it's not that I have done any harm to my ex. We weren't meant for each other's, but with all that crap she have done to me, there was loads of crap she accused me of to excuse her behavior. And some women bought that excuses easily. There were many people who have been supportive, but there always been that but thing. Yeah, I've had that too. Though it was a one-time sexual assault. That sucks, but you should have gone home earlier, you should have fought her. These were all dudes though. I will probably never tell a woman about it. Manipulated by her, and thank God my friends and her friends believed me. They shunned her for it. Now that I'm no longer living where it happened, I don't talk about it. Instead, I just listen to others who might be going through the same thing and believe them. I am glad someone on here has a good kind of ending where you were believed. Made me gain faith back in some humans. Death not justice system. I dealt with the whole psycho package in my first wife. Found out after the split. I was guy 3 when we were dating, which went down to just me for the first few months of our marriage. Then she started going out with her girls all the time. But her girls were the other strippers at the club she was working at. Started booking up with her coke dealer. Got me into several fights for no reason. Kept building up and getting worse. I lost weight because I wasn't eating. Lost my job due to depression sleeping. The one night I wake up to 2 cops standing over me in my bedroom. They dragged me out of bed, cuffed me and arrested me for domestic violence. I had been asleep for 6 hours at that point. Spent the rest of the weekend in jail. By the time I got out, she had cleaned out the apartment, my bank account, and taken one of my cars. All mine from before the relationship. Couldn't do anything about it since it's a community property state. I lived in an empty apartment for months, drinking, barely functioning. I was a wreck and a shell of a man for months after this. Divorce proceeded immediately. I got nothing back, but did get my record cleared. I spent about 6 months going to work from 10-7, then a bar until 2 AM every night. I was a terrible father to my daughter during that time because I just wasn't there. Lost all my friends. Lost all drive in life. And then I met my wife. She loves me despite my flaws and has helped me through all the damage, let the wounds heal, and has given my life meaning. I'd be dead if it weren't for her. My daughter has a father because of her. 10 years strong. Holy crap. This is horrendous. And I am so happy to hear things are looking up. I'm so sorry you went through that. I was 15. Sexually abused by my manager at my first job. One of the biggest fast food joints. Not once, but 4 times. Someone spotted the abuse and reported it to corporate and she got a promotion. I quit and my father ignored it. Police said the company handled it. Men who are abused are ignored because it's not supposed to be possible. Thank you everyone for all the super supportive comments and upvotes and hugs. I have to say this is an amazing community. I'm sorry you were abused like that. Thanks for sharing your story. I have a friend who always showed up at the pub with bruises on his arms because she gets feisty when they argue. I later realized he was being abused, but he took it because he thought it was because she loved him that much. If the genders had been reversed there wouldn't have been any doubt in my mind. But because he is a 6FT plus guy I was sort of blind to it and laughed it off as a joke. I will always regret that. I once had to do a presentation for a gender studies sort of course, and so having a friend who was abused by his girlfriend I chose to discuss the double standard in physical abuse. You'd think I was the devil incarnate. The women in the class glared and glared and glared for me raising the possibility that a woman hitting a man should be taken seriously. Got belittled, called a liar, a rapist, act. I was 15 trying to speak out about a pedophile who groomed me, but, you know, frick me I guess. I got lucky in my case. She had called the police but kept attacking me anyway in a volume that alerted the neighbors. So when she called the cops, the neighbors already had as well, which is why they were puzzled as to why the furious woman needed them. Police arrived without her noticing, rung the bell and I just slammed down the door handle letting them in. Just in the nick of time for them to see her waving her biggest kitchen knife in my direction. obviously trying to threaten or hurt me, and them seeing this really saved me as they realized I was the victim. When the lady cop immediately shut my ex down, the other policeman led me to the next room so I could calm down, and I just broke down, weeping and crying from all the stress and panic. After they were done asking questions, they let me grab all my required belongings and escorted me out so I could stay with a close friend until a solution was found. She kept shouting the worst of jinxes and curses down the window. All the people looked at me, but they realized it was on her, not on me. That has transpired 6 years ago. Although her treatment has eaten away my trust and left me with scars, I have met one person, a young woman, who gave it her all, restoring my faith as well as my hurting mind and heart. She never gave me up no matter how often I lashed out at her and cried. There is a ray of hope. Sometimes hard to see and even harder to grasp. Please, no matter who you are and what you suffered through, don't give up. I was broken and devoid of trust, but slowly and steadily it is restored by someone who truly cares for me and loves me with all their heart. I lost my virginity. BC, a girl who I had said no to mounted up and rode me while I was passed out drunk. I woke up from what I thought was a wet dream, finishing inside her with no protection. It messed with me pretty hard because I'd been trying to save my virginity for a serious girlfriend or someone other than just some girl I barely knew. Not to mention the fact that I had no idea if I was about to be an unwilling father. Thankfully that was not the case. My friends just kind of said, well, at least you got laid, right? I can't really blame them because it took a while, like years, for me to even realize that what happened was clearly rape. Wrapping our college age heads around the fact a guy could get raped was tough, I guess. I also got sexually harassed by a pair of women at a job in college, and telling people about it was met with attempts to high-five me. Thankfully these things happened years ago, and I do think men's voices in this regard are improving. I was told to walk away from the relationship. I counted my losses and left. I lived with her and was only able to pack about a quarter of my things. Not even. I lost perhaps about $4,000 worth of stuff. From an electric bike, my Xbox, 2 featuring shelves worth of DVDs and games, clothing. I had a buddy who was willing to let me sleep in his couch. I considered homelessness. I also remember abandoning an Oz pot there too. She obsessed over my income and I lost years worth of savings. If this is happening to you, OP, freaking run. It may suck at first, but it is relief. If this is happening to you, OP, freaking run. It may suck at first, but it is relief. Agreed, seconded and approved. Get out, but it's worth it. I got a restraining order against my ex-GF after catching her on camera breaking into my apartment, destroying my place and stealing a bunch of stuff. My friends had told me for years how terrible she was. There were times when I knew she was absolutely being awful, but my feelings for her ran deep. The detective working my case was awesome. She was surprisingly supportive, telling me you don't deserve this and we are going to make sure she doesn't get away with this. I told her I was going to court for a restraining order and the detective went ahead and served her the order after she arrested her. Even told me how she took it all, giving me direct quotes and everything once the police had recovered some of my stuff. Awesome. Not my story, but a very close friend. She was an excellent liar and manipulator. She is a 5'2" white girl. My buddy is a 6'4" 300+ pound black guy. Important later. A lot happened over the 8 years he dealt with her, but the final straw was she backed him into a corner, repeatedly hitting him. She eventually grabbed a kitchen knife and attacked him with that. He blocked the knife and pushed her away from him so he could get outside. At that point she told him she knew she could get him to put his hands on her eventually. She called the police claiming to be the victim. When the police arrived they arrested my friend even after he told the police he had recorded the entire fight with his phone. The police refused to watch the video because according to them, he was obviously guilty. Personally I believe race and the fact he is a man played into why they arrested him. I bailed him out of jail 13 hours later. 3 weeks later he went to the prosecutor, and when the prosecutor watched the video, they immediately dropped all charges. My buddy thankfully has a new house, full custody of his 3 kids, and is far away from that woman. Please tell me he sued the police department for gross negligence. People were shocked but believed me. Some paid me out, but only because we are blokes and that's how we deal with things. Deep down everyone has supported me. Not me, but a friend of mine. He told me the story. I was in disbelief and I couldn't understand why he would let a girl destroy him like that. I talked to him every day after he left the girl. He was very angry at himself and turned everything inward. Took over 6 months till he started to feel like himself. The girl took his money and then went around destroyed his reputation in every network, painting him as almost a rapist. I knew the full story and had evidence to back it up, but all women didn't care about what proof we had. They would be on her side and would ignore facts and evidence. That happened to me, but it has been 7 years now and I'm still not over it. I moved cities 3 times and changed careers to try to move the frick on with my life. It's still a daily struggle. When I tried to talk to her about it, I got a lot of "this is embarrassing. I don't want to hear this crap." So what I did was, I transposed all the body parts and sexes of my experience and put it out there for all to read. It was very gratifying for everyone to tell me that as a man, doing what I had done, I should be in jail. It's a shame you had to lie about everything with the situation in order for people to care. They should have cared regardless of the gender of the victim abuser. Tried saying I didn't feel like it, tried saying no, tried saying I don't have a condom, and eventually just went along with it. What's there to tell and who would care? I care, we care, it's not your fault. Wouldn't say it was too abusive compared to others, but dealt with a lot of gaslighting. Oddly enough, the final straw was Valentine's Day, also her birthday, when I finally had enough. Emotional and financial abuse is still abuse. I've only told 2 people. Both were extremely eager to help me and horribly worried. If I'm being honest, it was the most love I had felt in the months. Of course, when I had a visibly bloody bandage on my forehead and a green bruise that stretched halfway down my face, people at work asked me if I said something wrong to my fiance. It was hard not to say yes. There's still a heavy pan we use in the kitchen that's bent from it being thrown at me and hitting me in the arm. Hurt like heck. But I didn't let her know it. I just picked it up, put it in the sink and went outside. Guess that was about 15 years ago now. Horribly abused for years. Nobody noticed, and mother, when told years later, doesn't understand and still talks to her and said everyone makes mistakes or grows. It hurts. Ouch. Haven't told anyone. Not my family, not my friends, not even my therapist. The shame is too much and I'd never be taken seriously. I don't date anymore. I don't even talk to women unless there's one taking my money at a cash register. And it's just the bare minimum "thanks, have a nice day" spiel. I feel like any new interaction is a manipulation on the new person's part and I cannot establish any kind of trust with them. At this point in my life I've made up my mind to die alone. I can't navigate relationships at all. Laughed at, mocked, put down. Even had video of her hitting, kicking, abusing me, and people just made fun of me and the situation even worse. It was not real to them. I'd take that video to a magistrate's office. I told someone, family member, that I was sexually assaulted by an older woman when I was 13. They laughed. Then they said, "Wait, are you serious?" Then they said, "If you're the type of person who lets something like that happen, I really don't want you around my kids." Last time I told someone really, except when I was dating. Told my girlfriend at the time. She immediately hopped into the time when she was raped. We had heart-to-hearts about her assault before, and basically said how much worse hers was than mine. It's like, it's not a competition. Ouch on both of those. Right in the heart. How could she abuse you? Look at the size of you. That was my nan when I told her what I had been going through. How did that happen? I always thought you were strong. One of my closest friends, female, at the time. I was fortunate in my parents being amazing and having some incredible friends who supported me, but even now 5 years on it causes me some anxiety talking about it. The sexual abuse hotline counselor asked me if I was even into women when I told her what happened and then made excuses for her BC. She was drunk and acting on instinct. Interestingly enough, my mom was the one who understood and didn't judge me at all. Most others just wrote it off as "don't stick your dong in, crazy idiot, lol." This was once I admitted it to myself and then to others. A very strange experience. I watched it done to my father for 40 years. It was always funny to listen to my mother cut him down. Over and over. The mental. I started to realize it was seriously wrong about age 24. Even going through cancer she'd cut into him. How he wasn't standing up enough. Or more crap. I swear he was ready to die but not to walk out. Just a day before he went comatose he refused to talk to her. And never said he loved her in response. She still screams at him, he's dead. In grief for not saying that. Now I'm the one with the loud temper. I'm the one that screams. I got it from my mother. Once, maybe 3 months before he died, he told me how he'd read an article about Sweden opening an abuse center for men that were abused by their spouses. I told him I thought it was a very important thing to have done and that men can be abused by women, physically or mentally, and it sounded like Sweden was working towards fixing it, and I hoped we had stuff in the US like that. That's as close as we ever came to talking about it. Not quite the same, but my virginity was taken while I was blackout drunk. Woke up to puke and realized I had a woman on top of me. When I told everyone what happened, I was getting congratulations and friends were happy about it for some reason. I didn't feel happy about it, and I'm 100% sure it was without protection, so that really sucked too. My friends played it off like it was a good thing, but I wish it could have happened differently. Could have ended up with a baby at 17 years old when I didn't even know what was going on. Another time, similar scenario. Had a birthday party. A girl who was not invited caught wind of it and came over. She, completely sober, arrived at the party, put me, blackout drunk, in her car and drove me home. She got me on the bed somehow and started kissing me and aggressively trying to take my pants off. I came back to reality after feeling her mustache prickles on my lip. Told her to get the frick out of my house. My friends thought this was hilarious and teased me quite a bit. Moral of the story is that I feel like in at least one of these cases I was very clearly sexually assaulted. When I told people closest to me, they cheered me on and made fun of me like it was my fault. Maybe just my own experience, but things like abuse or assault must sound different coming from a guy, even though they are totally serious and dangerous and should be taken seriously. Yeah, the first girl straight up raped you and the second tried to. I was sexually assaulted by an older male and endured long-term abuse at the hands of my long-term girlfriend. I told close friends about my abuse a few months afterwards. My close group of friends is exclusively theater folk. Generally, they're an emotionally intelligent and woke bunch, and we've been able to have a lot of deep emotional talks. They 100% love and care about me, and have helped me with family drama before. When I opened up about abuse, the responses from them was pretty much, "Huh, that's rough, you'll get M next time, champ. Don't work with that director again. Are you looking to date anyone yet?" It's literally the sitcom trope of men can't have emotional talks, but reversed. People don't know how to have emotional talks about men. I had to watch them pat each other on the back for saying crap like, "Yeah, actually a lot of domestic abuse is from women, and it needs to be talked about more," instead of trying to address their friend who had just opened up about it. A lot of Reddit would probably say you have bad friends, but that's not the case. I have great friends. They just live in a society where people are not taught to deal with male emotions, or male abuse victims, or anything like that. It's one of the few things that people on Reddit do 100 times better than people in real life. I started reaching out to people online, and I've actually made a ton of close friends on Reddit because of it. I closed down for a while after that talk went so poorly, but I tend to bounce back quickly. The scariest part of the ordeal was realizing how easy it was to slip into that traditional male mindset of "got it, I have to handle these emotions myself. I just won't bring my feelings up again." I've always been hyper flamboyant, but it only took that one instance to close off, and it feels even harder to move past than the abuse was. Tried to tell a few people. No one really believed me in my circle of friends. They were able to convince their friends that I was the abuser. The last straw was when they used a taser. That crap hurts and left burns. That truly was the last straw because it left enough evidence that I could use to document the abuse and get out. Without physical evidence, it was word against word, and as the male, no one believed me. They make you blame yourself, always nitpicking at things that are trivial, even the smallest things that anyone would consider silly, so they use it against you. Even turn yourself away from friends and family so they isolate you. Always making you feel like you have to say sorry for even their actions and make you feel insecure, but then reel you back in and then mess you up again. It's a vicious circle. They say things just to hurt you and use those. Maybe a child you have say things like, they don't want to see you, neither do I wish you were dead, I can't stand you, you're just like your family. Everything is negative to them, considering to any normal person they wouldn't use things against you at all. The list is endless. TBH, many different forms and levels of abuse you really don't want to get involved with. The opening lines of your comment could not possibly be more correct. They take small mistakes you've made and turn them into huge things in order to make you look bad and to guilt trip you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.